Reid Mahoney is considered as rugby league's biggest pest. His niggling tactics aggravate basically every other player in the league. He's a pest, and it's really shown this year with countless instances on display. While he is known as the biggest pest in league, he's a great player with over 160 NRL games, and only at 26 years old, and played a massive role in the Bulldogs' redemption year, running them into the final series. This is the story of Reid Mahoney. Reid Mahoney was born on the 22nd of April, 1998, in Lambour, Queensland. He would grow up in Landsborough, Queensland, and went to Beerwah State High School. He started junior footy in the country for the Kawana Dolphins and the Beerwah Bulldogs. He would end up being scouted by the Canterbury Bulldogs and signed with the club when he was only 15 years old. He played in the Bulldogs SG Ball team when he was 16, but he didn't stay at the club for very long. The club would bring him down from Queensland, but apparently refused to pay him $1,500, which was the asking price to keep him. The club would say that he would never go on to play first grade. In 2017, he was picked up by the Parramatta Eels and was signed with them until the end of 2018. He played 2017 in the under-20s Eels side and mostly played off the bench throughout the season. Moving to 2018, Reid would play for the Wentworthville Magpies in reserve grade for several rounds at the beginning of the season. Then, in round 14, he would make his NRL debut for the Eels as they beat the North Queensland Cowboys 20-14. It didn't take him long to face his first bit of trouble, as in his first match in the NRL, he received a grade 1 dangerous throw charge for a tackle on Justin O'Neill. Then, in his second NRL match, in round 15's 24-42 loss to the Bunnies, he received another charge for dangerous contact on Cameron Murray. This was his second charge in his first 2 games, which would see him be suspended for 1 game. In the middle of the season, Reid would be picked to play in the Queensland under-20s team as they beat New South Wales 30-6. He would play his next NRL game in the Eels round 19 14-8 win over the Bulldogs, then remained in the first grade side for the rest of the season, swapping between starting as hooker and playing off the bench. Additionally, he re-signed with the Eels for an extra 2 years, lasting until the end of 2020. He ended up playing 9 first grade games this season. 2019 would really cement Reid in the first grade side, as he became the starting hooker for basically the entire season. He scored his first NRL try in round 1 as the Eels beat the Panthers 20-12, and he went on to have a very solid year with the club. The Eels would finish the season coming 5th on the ladder and would face the Broncos in the qualifying finals. This would be the 58-0 domination by the Eels. This game holds the record as the largest finals win in history. The following week in the semi-finals, the Eels wouldn't have as much luck, coming up against the Melbourne Storm, losing the game 0-32, ending their season. Played 26 games this season, scoring 5 tries, and at the end of the year, he made his international debut, putting on the green and gold jersey, playing for Australia and the Prime Minister's 13. Also, he was picked to play as hooker for the Junior Kangaroos. 2020 started with Reid scoring a try and the Eels round 1 8-2 win over the Bulldogs. Then, in round 2, as the Eels beat the Titans 46-6, he would suffer an injury, breaking one of the outer bones in his foot. This was originally set to keep him out for the rest of the season. That was if he went through with the procedure that the first doctor had told him. But after getting a second opinion from another doctor, he recommended a different procedure that would only leave him out for 8 weeks. Also, lucky for him, the NRL would be put on pause due to the COVID-19 lockdowns. And once the league got back up and running, Reid was good to go and didn't miss a round. He played in round 3, beating the Broncos 34-6. The Eels were going to have a solid season, finishing 3rd on the ladder, and in the middle of it, Reid re-signed with the Eels until 2022. When the Eels played in the finals, they would first lose to the Storm 24-36. Then, in the semis, they lost to the Bunnies 24-38, ending their season. He finished the year playing 21 games, scoring 3 tries, and also re-signed with the Eels in the middle of the season until the end of 2022. Moving to 2021, Reid would start in the first round of the season, scoring a try as the Eels beat the Broncos 24-16. He would have a steady season and was even picked to be a part of the Queensland's Origin camp, with a slight possibility to make a debut in the Origin arena. However, he'll be released from the Queensland's camp and was named to play for the Eels in round 13. This game, the Eels would beat the Knights 40-4, but Reid would dislocate his shoulder and was sidelined for the next 4 rounds. He returned to the field in round 18, scoring a try in the Eels' 26-8 win over the Titans. After playing a few more rounds, in round 21, as the Eels lost to the Bunnies 12-40, he would injure the same shoulder when attempting to tackle Latrell Mitchell. This would result in him needing shoulder surgery that would end the season. While he couldn't play any more footy for the year, there was still some good news that came out. He would sign with the Bulldogs at the end of the season on a 4-year deal worth $2.4 million to begin in 2023. He played 17 games this season, scoring 3 tries. 2022 would see Reid starting in round 1 in the Eels' 32-28 win over the Titans. Then, he scored his first try for the year in round 2 as Parramatta lost to the Sharks 16-18. Even though this was Reid's last season with the club, it would be a great one, as the Eels would make it all the way to the grand final, but they would go down to the Panthers 12-28. This was his last year with the Eels, and he played 28 games, scoring 8 tries throughout the year. 2023 would be his first season with his new club, and was named as co-captain for parts of the year, alongside Matt Burton. His first game for the Bulldogs would see them lose 6-31 against Manly, with Reid scoring the only try for the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs didn't have a great season, finishing 15th on the ladder, and only winning 7 games throughout the year. He played 24 games this year, scoring 4 tries. Now, for 2024, Reid would part ways with the co-captaincy and give the role to the new recruit, Stephen Crichton. In round 7, as the Bulldogs beat the Knights 36-12, Reid would be sent to the sin bin alongside Jack Hetherington. And in the tunnel, Reid had the shock of his life, as Jack put one on his chest, in what they would now call a friendly manner. I'm sure Reid was stunned seeing Jack square up at him like that, and I'm sure if Jack was really having a go, he would have just put one on his chin. In round 17, Reid scored a try in the club's 15-14 win over the Sharks. Just a few days after this, he'll be called up to Queensland Maroons camp to be a possible replacement for Harry Grant in the Origin Arena, as Harry was suffering a sternum injury. Unfortunately for him, he didn't get his chance to run out for Queensland. Back with the Bulldogs in round 24, as they played the Dolphins, he went up to have a few words with Davida Pangai Jr., and Reid was quickly shoved aside. It's funny because despite not knowing what he said, just his reputation gets himself into trouble. And this incident didn't even seem that bad. The ref even said to him, "This is the one and only time I'm talking to you. If you flare anything up, I'm putting you in the sin bin." The Bulldogs are going to have a great season, their best one in a while, finishing 6th on the ladder. This is the first time in 8 years that the Bulldogs finished in the top 8. With Reid being a major pest throughout the season, he continued to do so into the finals, but it didn't work out in his favour, and the Bulldogs would suffer an upset, losing to Manly 22-24, ending their season. With Reid's tactics being on full display this year, I'm curious to see what he has in store for us when he returns in 2025.